It is the biggest, most accurate piece of phenomena I've found because it comes into every single demonic narrative I've ever seen. You will feel you are in the presence of evil. You will feel that it wants to torture and kill you. It is not something that can be ignored when you are in the presence of one. It will change you when you are dealing with that. So it's just, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you think it was just a negative entity or if it just scared you, that's not the same thing as this kind of fear. It's not just fear. It is like your cells telling you to run because
Wow.
your body is terrified, even if your mind hasn't caught up yet.
History remembers the facts, but what about the phantoms that refuse to be forgotten? Tonight, Victoria Jaye returns. You'll remember her from our St. Patrick's Day dive into the fairies and leprechauns of Ireland and England, where we only scratched the surface on demons on that episode. We're going to try to dig in there a little bit today as well, but she's back with her new book, Hell, Horror, and Despair, an introduction to demonic fantasy and film. So make sure that you get your drinks and your popcorn, and we're going to dive in. Welcome, Victoria.
Thanks for
How are
having me
you?
back. I'm good. How are you doing?
Oh, doing great. Like I said in the intro, we talked about leprechauns and fairies the last time. This time we're going to kind of dive into demons in your book.
Absolutely.
So,
So we did change the title just a little bit.
oh,
Troy ended up bringing it down just a little bit. It's Hell, Horror, and Despair Demonic Fantasy in Film.
okay. Sorry.
It was a little wordy. No, it's not your fault because that was what I had originally submitted to him. He decided to cut it out because he's like, it's a little too long. And I agreed. So it didn't matter. I was like, nah, that was the right call. But yeah, so
So
I
glad
just came out with both last month.
that's great. I'm glad you corrected me. I don't know where I found the official title or that title, but
What it was.
but anyway,
That's all right. That's all right. Because it was like a last minute change. That's totally what I submitted. So you're
um,
good.
so before we get into the book, I just had a couple questions for new viewers. Could you kindly quickly recap who you are and what the demon folklorist means?
Yeah, my journey started when I was about 19. I had a possession experience. And then I went to go get my master's in folklore at Utah State in 2019, graduated 2021. And I was looking for a subject, and demons is something I know about because of what had happened to me. I was looking for answers. I did my research, which was on classification using sight, sound, smell, and feeling. And that was because I figured that the way that we as humans understand the paranormal is entirely dependent on how it affects our bodies. So it's very phenomenological. And I decided to turn that into a book. It's called The Black Hours. Actually, I have that one here too. It's just not right in front of me. There we go. The Black
Very
Hours,
nice.
Modern Demonic Experiences in Folklore. And that is more of, if you really thought that this was happening to you, if you thought you had a demonic experience, you could go through that book and use it like a checklist, and there would be examples about how that phenomena manifests and the way that it manifests if demons are actually involved. And my thesis was published online, and people started to lightly stalk me to
Oh,
talk to me before I had a way for them to reach out. And they wanted to tell me their stories. The problem is, most of them aren't demons. And mine actually wasn't either. I currently believe it was a jinn experience.
okay.
But as I started to do more and more of this work, I got involved in the convention circuit, and I realized how much people believe things are demonic, or they have very strange, inaccurate folk beliefs about demons. And I'm like, where is this coming from? And that's how Hell, Horror, and Despair was born. So, really, what I do is I tend to correct inaccurate beliefs about demons. I educate the public about what a demonic experience actually looks like and how they are actually completely infinitesimal. That I can almost guarantee that's not what it is because of how low the percentage is. It's like less than
Yeah.
1%. And I'm also part of the 9 Days podcast I'm co hosting with James and Nito. And we talk to other people who work in the field, other demonologists, other field investigators, because we're trying to get to the truths the best way that we can using our backgrounds, our education, our knowledge, because there are even gaps in my education. I consider myself, I don't want to say the word expert, but my wheelhouse is demonic experiences, phenomena, media, and there's another one. I think it's narrative, but that ties into experiences. So those are things I'm
Yeah.
looking at. And I'm looking at my third book right now because the work never ends.
No,
And
of
yeah,
course not. I was gonna ask, we talked last around St. Patrick's Day. What have you been up to? Have you been conferences? I know you said you started another book.
yeah,
You released the other one.
yeah.
Um,
No, it's been busy. Yeah, 2026 has been a year. So yeah, since then we started the podcast on 6/6/26 because of course, like what else are you
yeah.
gonna do if you're starting a demonology podcast? The book came out about a week after that. And then I just went to Haunted America over in Alton, Illinois, end of June. So I'm still recovering from that. The travel itself was fine. Everything was fine, except for the weird stuff that happens to you because you work in demonology. I was sitting in the middle of the night at a McDonald's charging my phone because it died and my car couldn't bring it back to life. And I didn't know where I was.
Oh,
And the conference had already ended. I couldn't go inside and ask Troy or anybody from American Hauntings Inc. for help. Everything had shut down and I was just stuck. And I was like, okay, let's use your brain. What can you do? And I was like, okay, let's go to a fast food restaurant, just hit the first one. So I was in a McDonald's and charging my phone. I had this kid who was helping me find an outlet. He was like, you are gorgeous. And I'm like, don't make me stop. And I was in head to toe demon folklorist regalia because I tend to dress up for events. It's all very
yeah,
theatrical.
yeah,
And I'm just like, thank you, universe. That was very sweet that happened. All in the day of being a demon folklorist. It's not fun. Don't join demonology, kids. It's not what it looks like on TV. I can promise you that.
yeah,
That's what we do. It's not, unless you are a field demonologist, then no, it's not nearly as romantic or cool or exciting as it seems on TV or even during investigations that are like on YouTube. It's not
yeah.
like that at all.
Kind of going into your book a little bit. What is demonic fantasy in your own words?
So, demonic fantasy are these like weird, inaccurate ideas that people are getting from a couple different sources. But from what I've found, it's mainly from movies. And it traces itself back to some of the unholy trinity of films. So Rosemary's Baby, The Exorcist, Amityville Horror, but or I'm sorry, not Amityville Horror, The Omen is the unholy trinity. I made a very slight mistake in my book about that. Sorry guys, I'm human because I added the Amityville Horror because to me, The Exorcist, The Omen, and Amityville Horror are the unholy trinity for demonic fantasy. Those 3 had so much of an impact on the way that people conceptualize demons that we are still seeing those effects now. They're iconic. They're iconic
Yeah,
for a reason. Some of it's a little bit gimmicky if you watch it now and you expect to be scared, but there are parts about it that are unsettling even today.
yeah,
So that's what I found when I started to look deeper. And it all stemmed from a article I had written actually in I think 2022 for Hear Us Scream that has since been taken down. But they had me write about how in 1999 we had this proliferation of religious horror movies about the end of the world. I call it apocalyptic horror because that's
yeah,
what was happening. Like people thought the apocalypse was here, Y2K. It gave people a secular reason to wonder if people like Christians were right. Is revelation here? And more than that, what do the institutions like churches and the Catholic Church, all that stuff, what do they know about it? Are they telling us everything? There was a lot of like mistrust of
Yeah.
institutions. The omens about that as well. It's like these institutions that are supposed to protect and help the public. What if the Antichrist is rising right now? Like it's really interesting. And then we had a resurgence of we had the prequel, the first Omen, and then Immaculate come out in the same year. And horror is very sensitive to what's going on with the public. If the public didn't feel anxiety about this, money wouldn't be made. No one would go see it. So
Yeah.
Roe v. Wade had just been overturned, and people were upset. They felt like the institutions that were supposed to keep them safe were not keeping them safe. So yeah, but it was like the 70s, the late 90s, and then early 2000s going into 6606. And then we saw like a resurgence with paranormal activity that really launched like the demon genre as we know it, the Conjuring movies, the Warren universe. From
Yeah.
there, I tried to pick a movie that was, sorry, excuse me, indicative of that year. What did that year look like? What had the most eyes on it? So I picked each one based on that. And pretty much every year that a Warren universe movie came out, that was the biggest demon movie of the year.
Wow. Speaking of the Amityville, the movies, the early movie and then the later remake, didn't have as much effect on me because I read the book
Right.
prior, and I thought the book was much scarier. I read the book, I think, in one day. That's how I was very much into that. It just drew me in, and I, but yeah, so watching the movie, I don't think that it did the book justice. Yeah.
You can only fit so much, right? Yeah, no, that's pretty fair. I liked the remake better only because I felt like it fleshed out the story a little bit and it didn't quite go down the demon route. It was a little bit
Yeah.
more interesting with the ghost of Ketchum and it taking over him. So I liked that one, but I could see why you feel that way. I just they probably couldn't include all the things that they wanted to. Maybe they didn't even have the effects for it.
The book terrified me.
Mhm. Yeah,
The movies were, eh.
yeah, that's fair. The book
Oh,
is a very interesting book. I ended up reading it to look at it to see if it was a true demonic story based on what I could tell that was included in the book. And my professional opinion is it is not a demon. If that is a true story, if that actually happened, it doesn't have the markers for a
yeah,
demonic
Marcus.
infestation. But
Yeah.
I
It
don't
was
know.
still
I
it
wasn't
was
there.
yeah, it was still for me, it was still scary enough when I think I read that book when I was probably in my teens. Yeah,
Mhm.
it was a while ago. Of course, I
Still
had to
though, it's
watch the
still scaring
movies.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, I still had to watch the movies just because I had read the book. I had to see what they put into the
Sure.
movie.
Yeah. What about The Exorcist? Have you read The Exorcist?
I have not. And actually, to be honest, I've never watched the movie.
Oh, okay.
That is
It's okay. So the
I've
thing
seen the
that
clip.
scares most people, yeah, that's fair. I don't think you could be on the internet and not see the clips,
Yeah.
but the book, it's okay. I actually think the movie's probably an improvement on the book, and the makeup is very interesting, and the special effects, all that stuff, very good. What I found most scary about it when I watched it again, because I had seen it a long time ago. I was probably, I don't know, 18, trying to scare myself. I'm 32 now, and I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. And what ended up happening is that I became frightened not because of the story, but for her mother.
Yeah.
Can you imagine watching your child go through that, not being able to help, driving you crazy? It's scaring the hell out of you. You're worried she is going to die. That's what terrified me. That's what really hit home for me. Nothing about the demon did. It was about the powerlessness. And I have also thought about, and I included it in this book, that I think a lot of people feel they can relate to demon movies, even though it's a crazy, fantastical experience. Most of us aren't having that one because we feel powerless in our day to day lives. We feel like powers that be that are bigger, that are stronger, that are more powerful, richer, what have you, are controlling our lives. And I think
Yeah.
that's why demon movies still deeply scare us because it's like it puts you in the driver's seat of being directly part of this particular possession. And there is a resolution almost always at the end. So there's that catharsis, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I always like to go with The Exorcist. I never watched the movie or read the book, but the story. I think I lost you. So, how did this book, your new book, grow out of the Black Hours? Was it always planned as a follow up, or did it emerge separately?
Absolutely not. So I was really burnt out after, let's see, when did I start writing this? Early 2025. So I was burnt out after 2024. I didn't really know if I wanted to keep doing this. And this happens every year, unfortunately. The paranormal is not always a kind or good place, even though I do call it my community. There are people in it who are unkind and who, if you disagree with them, they will get reactive.
Yeah.
I'd had a lot of that happen. I tend to stay out of discussions unless I see something that's so clearly demonic fantasy that I have to say something. And I do try to be kind because I know that a lot of people don't understand that what they're saying is demonic fantasy. But it grew more out of me just taking a break for a good 3 months of last year and feeling like I just need to turn my brain off. So I did. I read the Twilight series over as an adult. That was fun. And I'm like,
Oh,
Bella, you
I
shouldn't have picked
imagine.
either of them. But it was fun. It was interesting. And I just turned my brain off and I suddenly an idea started to grow. And there was like a little seed planted and it began to bloom because I kept seeing the same thing. It was something I had been told since my first ever paranormal conference. I have people who turn to me and be like, thank God you're here because we need people who can actually explain these questions that people have about demons because they keep asking us. We are investigators. We are folklorists. Not everybody understands demonic folklore or demonic phenomena or any of the other things that I specifically look at because
Yeah.
that's not what they deal with on a day to day basis. They were like, "Oh, you're here. You can answer these." Because every time a new demon movie comes out, people will come to these conferences and ask these questions. I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then I would have to start deconstructing what people were telling me. And it's why I don't really engage with the public very much anymore. The public doesn't know nearly as much as it thinks it does about demons because they're getting it from religion. Not to say that religion doesn't have anything to it and that there's nothing that can be utilized to modern demons, nothing like that, but it's not the best only source because it really doesn't fill in a lot of the blanks. So demonic fantasy ends up creeping in as people are trying to fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
And I don't find it to be helpful religious interpretations because I'm trying to get at how do demons behave? What are their patterns? Not how do we view them in our religious context. I don't
Yeah.
find it helpful. So I tend not to use it. And people find out pretty quick that I look at things in a more universal way instead of through that lens. Even though I did grow up Christian, I do believe in God, but I don't consider myself a Christian. So
Yeah.
it's just how it is. And I'm not here, honestly, to piss people off or to make them question everything that they thought they knew. It's more like, I want you guys to consider what I'm saying
Yeah.
because biblical scholars have been trying to tell you guys for ages that the way that you look at certain passages of the Bible has nothing to do with original translations that we can get to anyway. We don't have the original. And
Yeah.
things have been lost to time. And we are also talking about ancient contexts. To be able to do what I do, you have to have a background in psychology, sociology, ancient cultures, really anything media, even. You have to have a huge outlook. And I'm still learning things. That's what the Nine Gates is all about. I want to fill
Yeah.
in the gaps of my own education, learn from my peers, ask questions, and talk about what I found too as a creative, I don't know, brain space for people like me who have been studying this.
Yeah, and I think I've at least caught at least part of all of both of your podcasts so far that you guys have
Oh,
had.
awesome.
I don't think I've the second one I haven't watched the whole thing yet. I think I watched about
Mhm.
half of it. But I try to catch them. But
There
I
for
think it's
you.
fascinating. I think it's fascinating. I try to catch them as I can.
For
Um,
sure. But you can always go back and watch it later when you do have time. That's what I love about how live also shows you the video after it's done being live. But the
yeah,
reason we do it live is so that people can ask us questions in real time. So if you do ever watch our live and have a question, we would love to hear from you. I know you've been on there a couple times. I do remember seeing you. Mostly
yeah.
James has to read them to me because I'm on my phone. It's the best configuration to make it work because my laptop mysteriously fails. It's the demons, guys. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun though. Me and James are always super excited. We have Steve Wiggins who is coming on. He is an academic, but he was hugely instrumental to Hell, Horror, and Despair. His books made me understand the biblical passages that people were using for these movies. He is a biblical scholar. I think he's more focused on ancient cultures, but he has read the Bible and translated and done all of these things. And yeah, I'm really excited to talk to him and see what he thinks about the current state of demonology and how much he knows about it. He may
Yeah,
not be as plugged into demonology, but we can plug him
you can
in and
fill it.
tell him what we
Yeah, you can
saw.
fill them
Yes.
in.
Yeah.
Now, what specific belief people confidently hold about demons that you can trace directly back to a movie?
One specific. Honestly, there's a ton.
Oh, I figured.
Probably the biggest one is that it is easy to get possessed. That if you spend time around a possessed person, if you breathe the same air as a possessed person, you are eventually going to get possessed. And no, it's not. That's not how it works. Demons can't just attack people. They have to find a doorway into your life. And demons are big creatures. So if you conceptualize it like a real door,
Yeah.
it needs to be wide open for them. So little footholds, like another one is the Ouija board. The idea that you're hosting a meet and greet with demons at the end. No, you're not. I I don't always know what's at the end of the Ouija board, but I can guarantee demons are infinitesimal. So no, it's probably not that. It's not impossible. It's improbable.
Yeah.
And also there are people who don't believe that Ouija boards are even a sign of communication at all. That it's idiomotor effect where you are actually subconsciously moving it and you don't realize it. It's entirely possible. I don't know. I don't really
Yeah.
use them because I don't need to. I have
When
psych.
I was a kid, I had the Milton
Mhm.
Bradley version.
Okay. There you
But
go.
I lived in a Catholic household. I was shocked my grandmother, who was super, even allowed it in the house, but she saw it as a game. She did not. She had no. She didn't believe that it had any powers. There was no communicating with the other side.
It's also possible people are feeding back the experience they expect to have. We call it cultural source hypothesis in folklore, where you your religious culture tells you you're going to have a bad experience. So you do. So you end up effectively feeding back the experience you expect to have because that's what you've been told. The other side of that is experiential source hypothesis, which is somebody has a weird experience, right? Something they can't explain. So they use their culture to try and fill in the blanks of what just happened. And we all do it. We try to find the basis of where things are coming from. And Christianity is widespread enough that I can say Satan, I can say the Antichrist, I can say 666, and most people know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Ouija board goes right back to The Exorcist. That is directly where it comes from. Also, there are some other movies like Witchboard that really pushed that. But it was really The Exorcist because people wanted to know, how could this happen to a little girl? And it's like, what was she playing with? A Ouija board. Who was she talking to? Captain Howdy, who was actually Pazuzu. I don't know what an ancient deity was doing in a Georgetown girls' room, but there was an allusion to the fact that it was a black mass that was calling him up and he manifested that way. But it black masses are also not real, at least not on the scale that Satanic Panic told us they were.
Yeah.
Everyone you know, it goes back to Rosemary's Baby. Everyone you know, doctors, teachers, lawyers, everyone's a Satanist, and they are all bringing the Antichrist into power. They're not happening on a large scale. If they're happening at all, people, if they are doing black masses and they're like hurting animals or children in that way, those are fringe groups. It's not something that's happening across the country, across the world, globally. And that's exactly what Satanic Panic was trying to say. This is happening everywhere. People went to jail, and some of them are still in jail based on the effects of what happened then because they were the local weirdo and they took the fall for some crime that happened.
Yeah. Now, I know you've spoken about a few different films. Were there specific films that really, how to say it, did did the most kind of public damage to the image of the image of the demon or misinformation?
Literally, yeah. The Exorcist, The Omen, Amityville. Those three had an effect in a way that I think cannot be overestimated because it also established firm genres, right? But in the knot of what the public thinks they understand, it's a very convoluted knot. The Antichrist, which would be the Omen, Antichrist horror, and or we could call it satanic because it's almost always related to Satan, like Antichrist is Satan's son, yeah.
Yeah.
Even though he's not in the Bible, as far as we can tell. Those ideas became very popular because of these movies. Let's see, Exorcist established possession horror, Amityville haunted house horror. Those things have really defined where we are now and influenced, I think, demon movies and demon related media more than we can say.
Yeah.
But those three for sure. And then I think the Conjuring movies and
That's
the
what I was
Warren
thinking too.
universe.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Conjuring movies, which I can say I have never watched one of them.
The
I
Conjuring one is the most accurate. They stopped being as accurate the longer they went
After
on. They
that,
made more money.
true.
The
Yeah, it's just the
Nun
more.
and Nun 2 are pretty good.
Yeah. No, I have not. I've I like horror movies. I've not gotten into the whole Conjuring universe.
Fair. It's really not for everybody, and there are issues with the series because I have broken it down for articles, and there's even Conjuring 1 would probably be my favorite aside from The Nun. The Nun is pretty good. I didn't like it when I first came out. I thought it was going to be scarier, but I rewatched it and I was like, this is actually pretty solid folklore. And The Nun 2 was pretty good as well. But even The Conjuring 1, it was the most accurate, but it also did some of the most damage because of Bathsheba Sherman. She was a real
Yeah.
person. Her grave is consistently desecrated because,
Yes.
and that's the point I'm making in this book, that fact and fiction become really blurry when you see it on screen. People don't realize that what they're seeing could be fictional.
Yeah.
They don't realize that based on a true story means they could be pulling from five true stories. They might have just used their name and made up the rest. Based on takes them off the hook for being factual. And horror doesn't have to be factual. Also, it's a fictional genre. Why are people pulling information from a fictional genre that they know is fiction? This is not a documentary. And yet, I think it's because of source amnesia. People, let's say maybe this week you gotten interested in demonology. Maybe you picked up James's book. Maybe you picked up my book. Maybe you watched a documentary. And then maybe that led you to one of the Conjuring movies. And then a weird idea comes up. Oh, it's really easy to get possessed that we never said, right?
Yeah.
Except that you don't remember where you got it. So you probably attribute it to one of us because your
Yeah.
source amnesia, you can't remember where you got it. So you believe that you got it from a trusted source, or you believe that they brought in demonologists to write for them. I've heard stories where demonologist friends were like, I offered to help them write that some of this stuff for free. And they said no.
Wow.
And I'm personally like, because I'm a horror fan, I think I could write you something real scary, completely accurate. Hey, hit me up, guys, for the next movie. But I'm not, what people don't really understand is that the real phenomena is sometimes a lot scarier than anything they're ever going to come up with.
Yes.
There are things I've seen in the narratives, in people's experiences that I've never seen on screen that I think could push the barriers of what we understand. It's just the way that it is. Horror writers are often like, no, I could do it better. And it's okay. That's fine. Could you be accurate though? Maybe just a little bit, because the truth is people are absorbing a lot of information from horror that isn't
Yeah.
factual. We got to do something here, but it's not actually horror filmmakers, horror writers' fault. The
No.
public should know better.
Yeah, they really should. And I think that's one of the reasons I don't get into the whole Conjuring thing is
Mhm.
I know that a lot of it is far away from the actual story. And I like to
Mhm.
dig into the actual, like, true story or the true
Yeah,
beginnings of it. And I think that's the big reason I just have had no interest.
and that's real. No, I'm the same way about certain cases. I'm like, I know too much about this. I don't really want to see it on screen.
Yeah.
Understand?
Now, how much of the demonic fantasy comes more from the films versus church or paranormal TV personalities or now YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a
Is
great
there a
question because I talk about that
oh,
um,
okay.
in the book, because movies are not the only source of demonic fantasy. Yes, they do come from churches. Pastors watch the same movies as us. Some of it trickles down that way into congregation. Not every single pastor, and this is especially a thing in the South, has a degree in seminary. They did not go to seminary school, they just needed a calling. So, uneducated people, and it's not, education is not everything, but I do think maybe you need a working knowledge of theology to be able to preach it. You know what I mean? But it's that there's a process going on there. That's how the whole Labubus are evil got started on TikTok. It is likely, okay, so somebody noticed that, oh, Labubu sounds a lot like Pazuzu from The Exorcist. This is what I mean. People do not know that Pazuzu isn't a real thing now. It was an issue way back when
Yeah.
in Mesopotamia. I believe it's Mesopotamia. Don't quote me.
I
My
believe that too. I'm not 100% because I'm yeah, I think it is, but
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
think so too. I
100%.
just ancient cultures are actually not my forte. And I've never said that they are, but I have an understanding of them? Yes, I do. But I can't always recall off the top of my head. I believe he is Mesopotamian and that he was a wind deity. He was also used as an apothecaric, meaning people used his image to ward off evil. So he was evil, yes, but not, he was able to stop evil as well. So I'm not really sure what Pazuzu was, but he was a lot of things. Also, the ancient world, it was a demon haunted world.
Yeah.
Everything, illness, winds, storms, all that stuff was demons, but it wasn't demons the way we conceptualize demons now as being completely evil. They were demons. They were beings of great power, and over time and translation errors, they became what they are now, just full encapsulation of evil. And a lot of people don't have that understanding either. This book is just me trying to help
Yeah.
undo some of this. But the fact is, yeah, Labubus aren't evil. They're a dumb little stuffy that you put on your bag, and they do look a little evil, but that's the point of them. And you can customize them, and it's not related to Pazuzu, guys. I shouldn't have to say that. And yet, people who are religiously scared, often don't see the humor. They're like,
Yeah.
no, it's evil. Get it out of here. They even do set it on fire and cast it out of their house. And I'm like, that's a lot. I don't know why you're
That's
doing that. There's a lot of folk belief related to Christianity that is, and folk belief doesn't have to have a basis
yeah.
at all. It is just a belief related to something else. So Christian related folk belief. I've seen some things lately where people are putting Bibles in the foundation of their home. And I'm like, that sounds a lot like witch bottles, guys. Look it up. I don't think the book itself, because the whole idea about the Bible is that it is the word of God, but it is not the book or the pages itself that is powerful. And they are assigning and ascribing power to this object, which kind of makes it an idol, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's a little weird. So there's a lot of this going on right now. The internet is like a breeding ground for anything odd or weird, and then people weigh in, and there some people are calling you stupid and some people are feeding the demonic fantasy. So yeah, like that's one way that it's happening through churches, because they literally could say anything is evil and somebody's going to believe it. And the
Yeah.
reason that happens is because of money, power, or both. They are trying to keep you scared for a reason. But don't touch anything that you don't want to touch. If you think it's evil, that really is okay. You can stay away from it. I'm just telling you right now that there is no demonological basis for Labubu to be evil, like whatsoever. I don't know who told you that, but they're wrong. So it's like stuff like that. Then we also have paracelebrities. Paracelebrities are not always trained in demonology. They might say that they are. And it's a big issue right now as far as credibility. Like, where did you get your credentials? Who do you think you are, basically?
Yeah.
I don't call myself a demonologist. I'm not one. That's not what I do. James argues that I could call myself an applied demonologist, that I am applying demonology in a specific way. And I'm like, it still just doesn't fit very well, because demonologists translate ancient languages and texts to figure out the full picture of these entities.
Yeah.
They also often do field work. Sometimes they're exorcists as well, not always. It can really kind of run the gamut of where you situate yourself in demonology. It's also very male centered. Thankfully, we do have more female demonologists now that are, if they haven't entered the field already, they are. I'm fairly new, but I'm a woman.
Yeah.
So, and I haven't found it to be a boys' club or anything like that. But sometimes things start out a certain way, and it's because that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But we do have pioneers in who are female. And I think that's amazing. And I want to see non binary folks too. I'd love to see a little bit of everything, just because
Yeah.
we don't need just white men or white women. I'd love to see the perspective of everybody as a part of demonology, but hopefully in time we'll get there. But that's another way. Hair celebrities don't always know what they're talking about. Just because they're popular does not mean that they're right.
Yeah.
And you should always fact check your favorite celebrities, because being on TV doesn't actually mean that you are the best or the most researched or anything like that. We do have some wonderful researchers who have been on TV, but that it isn't everything. TV is also not the trajectory of what we're all trying to do here. Some of us like to just write their little books and go to cons and we'll talk about things. And that's what I do. I have no desire to be on TV. I won't say no, I'm not crazy,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that's not the goal. I don't actually want that. So, yeah, that's another way. I also just think that people have been looking for answers in the Bible for millennia, or not millennia. I'm sorry. That's a huge dramatized statement. For at least about 2000 years. We're looking to fill in the blank of John Milton, right? He was filling in the blanks for us, and that has taken root in popular imagination and media. Media is becoming like a new religion because of the way it is telling us a story and people remember that story, not the actual biblical one. Because unfortunately, movies stick better in our minds.
Yeah,
So
they
when
really
someone,
they do.
yes, it's a big thing. And I didn't realize that until I got into media studies to look at what was going on and why would that be? Because I remember coming across this when I was a kid and I would read a book and the movie would intrude as I was reading. And I'd be like, oh, that's not part of the movie. And then I'd be like, why am I remembering the movie when I'm reading the book?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is weird. So, yeah. And it would annoy me when it wasn't the same. And it's like, it doesn't have to be. I usually like the book better because it gives us details. Movies have to cut things down because otherwise we'd all be sitting there 5 hours later. Nobody needs that.
Yeah.
But
No.
yeah, we're trying to fill in the blanks, I think.
Yeah.
And we look for the answers in media, in stories. People have a natural curiosity. So that's the other reason I think this is happening. And that ties into what my next book is about. I'm looking into Christian secrets and satanic secrets for my next book
Oh,
in film. Yeah.
that sounds interesting, exciting.
Thank you.
Now, is there a demonic fantasy belief that's so widespread that even paranormal investigators have fallen for it?
I think the most common one is probably the Ouija board one. Now, that's not a blanket statement for all paranormal investigators. What most people don't understand is that a lot of paranormal investigators do use a lot of magical practice and Ouija boards quite habitually. It's not everybody, but everyone I know uses them. And it's, but it is something that comes up every now and then where people in other investigators will be like, no, I don't touch them. They're evil. And I'm like, okay, why do you think that? That's the one that comes to mind. There probably is a better one, but it usually comes back to somebody has made up their mind based on a movie. And I'm just like, okay, but have you guys really taken a look at that belief? Because folk beliefs, it's incredibly pervasive. Also, beliefs, I tend not really to touch because you're allowed to believe that something's evil. I'm just asking you, why do you think that? You
Yeah,
know,
very true.
because
Yeah.
if it's a movie, maybe you need to look a little deeper.
Yeah. Now, has writing this book changed how you personally watch horror movies?
No, because I'm always literally thinking a little too deeply about what I'm watching. And sometimes after the movie, I'll be like I saw Obsession and I wrote about it for 2 hours afterwards. I'm like that when I watch something, but it's not everything. Not everything gets the gears turning. Religious horror, though, I would say, though, I now have this lens. So I guess, yeah, it has changed a little bit. It shifted how I view things because now instead of being like, oh, what is this movie trying to say? I'm like, what demonic fantasy is this peddling and why? So that's the new lens that I look at religious horror movies with. And now I just can't turn it off because I'm thinking too deeply about it now. But horror in general, I think, doesn't always use religious themes.
Yeah.
Other horror movies are safe from this lens.
So kind of going into general kind of demons and stuff, what's the most common thing people mistake for demonic that isn't?
Any kind of possession experience. People
Right.
don't realize possessions can be conducted through several different entities and that some of them aren't inhuman. There is the story of the dybbuk from Jewish folklore. It's a spirit that has been barred from heaven and hell, has been forced to wander. It finds shelter in people's bodies. Hard to say if it's real because it was also connected to women not having rights. And the way that you expelled the dybbuk would be to air it publicly in a arena so that the dybbuk would finally be able to speak. But there are cases where it sounds like the Wet'sucker Wonder. Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know. I've only ever read about it, but that happened here in the US and it really has a lot of strong evidence. This woman was momentarily for periods of time possessed by a woman who was alive at one time. She was able to talk to her family and give them details of her life that nobody else would have known. So I do think debukim are real. I think it's entirely possible to be possessed by a once living person who is now gone, but not gone because energy is neither created nor destroyed. But I'm not going to pretend to tell you how the afterlife exactly works. We all have our beliefs about that, and we will find out someday if we're right or not. But yeah, sometimes it is once human spirits. Sometimes it is things like jinn, which are from Middle Eastern folklore. They were like created prior to humans. Angels of light, they were first. Human beings of clay were later, and jinn were made from smokeless fire. They are very similar to humans in that they can be good, evil, neutral. They can turn away from God. They have free will. They are also very similar to humans in that they kind of behave like us. They get married. They do eventually die. They have communities. They have kingdoms, but they also possess people. And a lot of the phenomena is very similar to demons. And they are a part of both pre Muslim folklore and Muslim folklore, pre Islamic and Islamic. So it's very interesting. And then people will seriously push back on that when I say something about the jinn because they're like, oh, the jinn's not in the Bible. And my thought is, okay, I think you need to look at some other sources, not for your personal beliefs, but
Yeah.
in the Quran, they exist. In
Yeah.
Middle Eastern folklore, they exist. I am a folklorist. I feel like I shouldn't have to say that, but people will reach out to me and then push back when I give them a folklore explanation for what's going on because they, for some reason, see the demon in my title and think that I just believe everything is a demon. Everything is not a demon. Most things aren't, actually. So possessions can happen with a ton of different things. There's even been Bigfoot possessions and fairy possessions. This is a little more widespread than we understand, but to be clear, possession is a violation of your natural rights of, being in control of your body. So it is always an evil thing because something is actively trying to take something from you. But there are times when it's more to give a message instead of to just hurt you and take from you. So it's there are some gray areas, but usually it is a violation and it is therefore malicious.
Yeah. Now, if someone came to you convinced they were dealing with something demonic, what would the first question you'd ask them?
Tell me what happened. What's going on? And I want it from the beginning and tell me as much as you remember. And I can usually from there figure out whether or not it's a demon. But if they don't mention it, it's usually a good sign that this did not happen. But I will always ask, did you ever at any time feel you are in the presence of evil? If not, this is not a demon.
Yeah.
It is the biggest, most accurate piece of phenomena I've found because it comes into every single demonic narrative I've ever seen. You
Yeah.
will feel you are in the presence of evil. You will feel that it wants to torture and kill you. It is not something that can be ignored when you are in the presence of one. It will change you when you are dealing with that. So it's just if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you think it was just a negative entity or if it just scared you, that's not the same thing as this kind of fear. It's not just fear. It is like your cells telling you to run because
Wow.
your body is terrified, even if your mind hasn't caught up yet.
That's yeah. Now, what was I gonna say? I blanked out there.
No worries.
Totally blanked. Anyway, I know that we are getting about to the end of the hour. I know you what do you have upcoming? Any conferences? I know you're working on your third book. Where can people find you? Kind of plug away.
Yeah, no worries. So My new book and my previous book, they're both for sale on my Shopify. That's on all my pages. I'm under Demon Folklorist for everything. If you just look that up, you will find me and you'll find my Shopify. For some reason, it doesn't come up when you just do Demon Folklore Shopify. I don't know why. It's not great. Hopefully, I'll be able to change that indexing eventually. But yeah, my mom also creates Halloween style and fun little crafts on there that she has me sell, like Halloween quilts. And she's playing with creepy little dolls. And actually, here, I'll show you some of them. So here's a
Oh,
collection. Not all
go
of these are
for
my
it.
mom. The sock monkey I actually got from Haunted America. She's my little
Oh,
witch sock monkey. And then the two El Dia de los Muertos skeletons are from a store, but she made the doll and the kind of haunted Raggedy Ann doll. She is not pre-haunted. Her name is Winifred, and she's a fully made doll, but she is made to look spooky because of the association with Annabelle. But
yeah.
yeah, she makes all sorts of stuff like that. And let's see what else. I have Mass Paracon coming up. Super excited. It's going to be October 2nd through the 4th in Taunton, Massachusetts with Sam Baltrusis. That's his event. My first time going. So I'm super nervous,
Oh,
but more excited. I'm going to be giving my talk about hell, horror, and despair. So it's going to be talking about how these specific folk beliefs, like tracing where they came from and why they're wrong, essentially.
yeah. That should be a great chat or a
Yeah.
great lecture.
Oh, people loved it at Haunted America. I was like, I always expect people to push back because this is all about belief and
yeah,
how I'm essentially sitting here telling you, yeah, I'm sorry, but your religion is not telling you the truth about all of this. It's not rooted in anything biblical. It's not rooted in anything except folk belief. But no, people loved it. They were like, "Oh, that's amazing." And I'm like, thank you. I hate public speaking. So every time I have to do it, I'm like, oh my God, everyone's going to hate it. And that's going to be fun. But no, people were very receptive. I sold out of my books, but I do have them restocked on my website. If
okay.
you decide to pick one up, let's see what else. And yeah, follow me on any of my channels. And if you have a question, feel free to send it to me. Don't be weird. Just just be like, "Oh, hey, I saw you on this. I do have a question." And it's like, "Cool." You can also directly reach out to me, demonfolklorist@gmail.com. I have a Facebook page, Instagram, Threads. I think that's it. Those are the three main ones that I use. But yeah,
Okay.
I'm always happy to answer questions. Also, listen to the Nine Gates. Have our new episode with Steve Wiggins coming out on August 4th. It's usually the first Tuesday of every month. In October, it's going to be the second Tuesday because I'll be at Mass Paracon, and actually, so will James. It'll be the first
Yeah,
time we get to meet in person, and that'll be a lot of fun because he lives in Rhode Island and I live in Wyoming, so little
yeah,
difficult to meet up.
bit different. And actually, that'll be perfect because this episode actually will be coming out August 1st. It'll be the following Tuesday, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
a couple days later. So
a
that's
couple
awesome.
days
Yeah,
later. So,
perfect. Yeah, and
uh,
if you join us for the live, you can ask us questions there. We Even if we don't get to your question right that moment, we do try to make time to answer people's questions, even if it's the next episode, because we do understand that demonology is not easy. It's not an easy subject. It's not easy to understand. So we need to make the effort to try and meet people where they are with our listeners.
yeah. I thank you for coming on tonight. And if tonight's conversation got you thinking differently about what you thought you knew about demons, Victoria's new book, Hell, Horror, and Despair, Demonic Fantasy and Film, is now available. Links are in the description below. And if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. Every week, we dig into another place where documented history and the supernatural collide. And remember, history never truly dies, it just finds new ways to haunt us. Until next time, keep digging into the darkness.